Hello students, welcome to Legacy as Academy. In this particular video, we are going to analyze properly questions being asked from geography in UPSC Prelims examination. The question largely we are going to talk about is from two of the most important sections, we can say, which is one of the most favorite topic, we can say UPSC picks question from in geography, and that is climatology. Apart from that, we also look at few questions that is asked from the geomorphology. Both of these, as you know, are very important part of the physical geography, make up a large chunk of geography syllabus. So the first question, we can take a look at the most recent one asked in 2025. There we have two statements. It is kind of assertion reason type of questions. The statement one is saying that the amount of dust particles in the atmosphere is more in subtropical and temperate areas than in the equatorial and polar region. The statement 2 on the other hand says that subtropical and temperate areas have less dry wind. Now, if you analyze each of these questions, first of all, what we see, amount of dust particle in the atmosphere is more in subtropical and temperate areas than in the equatorial polar areas. Now, this is correct. Why this is correct? Because if we talk about these regions, subtropical temperate region, lot of hot deserts you will find here. Overall, because of the subtropical region being high pressure belt, you do not have rainfall or very limited rainfall, and that's why this region also remains a relatively dry or arid region. So imagine a hot desert landscape made up of sand particles, and then also because of less rainfall, generally you have the arid landscape. So due to this, naturally what will happen, the number or amount of dust particles would increase. So statement 1 is definitely correct statement. Statement 2 is subtropical and temperate areas have less dry wind. This is incorrect statement, again because subtropical and temperate areas, what kind of landscape? Dry landscape. That's why winds here are also dry, and most importantly, because winds are descending in downward directions, that means they do not cause any kind of instability in the atmosphere. Instability means there is no wind there is no cloud formation, condensation and rainfall as such, and that's why overall winds have dry characteristics. So the correct answer in this case would be statement C, where statement 1 is correct but statement 2 is not correct. Now if you look at this particular question, to some extent we can link it with the UPSC mains question. This is a new trend that we are seeing. Most of time the topic that they are asking, concepts they have asked earlier in the mains examination, based on similar concepts, now they have begun to ask questions in prelims examination. So if you go back several years, you would see question was asked that why majority of the world's desert are found in the subtropical belt, that is around 30 degree 35-degree north and south of latitude, and why most of them are located along the western coast. To some extent we can say it is the repetition of the same concept. That's why analyzing PYQs both from prelims and mains perspective can play a very important role in giving you idea that what kind of concept UPSC is favoring here. Second question is, now this is a repeated and recurrent theme that we are seeing in the questions of several years. This is, we can talk about the temperature. Second chapter of climatology, we have to study about insolation and temperature, and frequently UPSC has asked question from the temperature concept, insolation concept. So the question is from 2012, a very old question. They are saying atmosphere can be heated upward only from the earth's surface. That is true, because when we talk about the terrestrial radiation, it is terrestrial radiation which is of long wavelength nature, that is released by the earth's surface, and it is this radiation that heats up the atmosphere as such. There is more moisture in the upper atmosphere. That is incorrect, because you know that moisture is water vapor. Water vapor is the result of evaporation, and evaporation happens where temperature is high, and where temperature is highest, the highest temperature you will find is near the surface, near the sea surface. That's why more moisture is in the lower atmosphere. Third, air is less dense in the upper atmosphere. This is true, because the atmosphere is bound and held by Earth's gravity. Gravitational force is maximum near the surface, and that's why the density of atmosphere is also maximum near the surface. So correct answer here would be A only. Now, when you are solving this question, do not just try to find correct answer. When you are analyzing this, when you are practicing PYQs, try to understand the concept as well. Why you should try to understand concept? This we can understand by looking at the question asked near 2024. Imagine this question, last question is from 2012, and in 2024 you can see repetition of the same concept. If you look at the statement 1, what they are asking, atmosphere is heated more by incoming solar radiation than by terrestrial radiation. It is nothing but the same concept being repeated, just the words have been changed. So what it means, atmosphere, now if you have solved, suppose this you have analyzed this PYQs, you would have understood that atmosphere is actually heated. No matter whether you knew the answer before or not, after solving this answer, after going through the explanation, you would know that yes, atmosphere can be heated upward only by the Earth's surface. The Earth's surface heats up atmosphere by terrestrial radiation. Terrestrial radiation is given here. And now what they are saying, that atmosphere is heated more by incoming solar radiation by terrestrial radiation. That means if you have properly solved this question would be very, very easy for you. It is a breeze. So atmosphere is heated more by incoming solar radiation and by terrestrial radiation. That is incorrect statement. Statement 2, carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases in the atmosphere are good absorbers of the long wave radiation. That is correct. So correct answer here would be statement 1 is incorrect, statement 2 is correct as such. So D would be the right answer. Now this is not only instance where the same concept is being repeated. We can take a look at again 2025. Still we have this gap here, 2012 and 24. 2024 they're asking question related to incoming solar radiation, terrestrial radiation, greenhouse gases. And next year itself, 2025, last year, what is the question? Without the atmosphere, temperature would be well below freezing point everywhere on the Earth's surface. Heat absorbed and trapped by the atmosphere maintains our planet's average temperature. And third, atmospheric gases like CO2 are particularly good at absorbing and trapping radiation. Can you see the similarity? The statement that was given here. What is the statement? Carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases in the atmosphere are good absorbers of long wave radiation. I have put it here as well. It is a question asked in 2024. This is a question asked in 2025. It is the exact repetition of the concepts related to temperature, and the third statement here and second statement, basically they are same statement. So that's why I'm saying you that PYQs are very, very important. Go through them properly, analyze them, and try to understand concept, not just mug up the answers. Not just be happy that you have found or we have ticked the correct answer here. So without the atmosphere, temperature will be well below freezing point everywhere on the Earth's surface. That is correct. Heat absorbed and trapped by atmosphere maintains our planet's average temperature. That is also correct. Average surface temperature of Earth is believed to be about 15 to 16 degrees. That is maintained because the heat budget of Earth is zero. That means the amount of energy that Earth absorbs coming from the sun is equal to amount of energy it releases and loses either to the atmosphere or to the outer space. That's why there is an average temperature. Atmospheric gases like CO2 are particularly good at absorbing and trapping radiation, are good absorbers of long wave radiation. So that is also correct. Yani, yeah, and for that means for this particular question, what should be the answer? 1, 2, and 3. Now, if you look at the question that was asked in 2023, again similar question, and we'll try to look also how UPSC is picking up the question. So, with reference to Earth's atmosphere, which one of the following statement is correct? So, 4 statements are given. The total amount of insolation received at the equator is roughly about 10 times of that received at the poles. Now, where would you find such facts? You do not have to look anywhere else. You have to simply look at the NCERTs. So, this is a statement. We have taken a screenshot and we have put here. This is from NCERT directly. You can see in NCERT it is written. This is NCERT class 11th, right? Class 11th physical geography. I can write here. So class 11th NCERT physical geography. The topic subtopic mentioned here is spatial distribution of insolation at the Earth's surface. And there they have clearly given the insolation received at the surface varies from about 320 watt per square meter in the tropics to about 70 watt per square meter in the polar areas. Maximum insolation received is over the subtropical desert as such. So equatorial area, tropical area receive almost similar amount of the insolation. So by this you can understand that it is about 4 or 5 times more. The total amount of insolation at equator is not 10 times. It can be 5 times, around 5 times more than that, not 10 times. That means this statement is incorrect one. Second is infrared constitute roughly 2/3 of the insolation. So we know that most of energy that we receive from the sun comes in the form of 3 major wavelengths: ultraviolet, infrared, and visible. So ultraviolet, infrared consists maximum amount of energy. So we then know about that. But is it 2/3? Third, if you look, infrared waves are largely absorbed by water vapor that is concentrated in the lower atmosphere. Infrared waves are part of visible spectrum of the electromagnetic waves of the solar radiation. That is incorrect. Visible spectrum, as we have discussed, these are separate one. Now, this is not 2/3. Almost, we can say 50% of the sun's energy that receive 50 around 50% of sun's energy that receive is coming in the form of infrared rays. In 42% you have is roughly, we can say, is the ultraviolet, and remaining 7 to 8% you have is roughly the visible spectrum. That means correct option is this one. The infrared waves are largely absorbed by water vapor that is concentrated in the lower atmosphere. Most of water vapor you have is concentrated in the lower atmosphere, and that's why infrared rays are absorbed here. They absorb the long wavelength terrestrial radiation, infrared radiation and all. So C is the correct option. So you can see that still here one of the statement is directly picked from the NCERTs itself. Next is with reference to water vapor. Which of the following statement is correct? Now see, this question was asked in 2023. Again 2024 they are asking questions. Here they have given that infrared waves are largely absorbed by water vapor concentrated in the lower atmosphere. This is a fact you know because you have solved the PYQ. Next year what they are asking, it is a gas amount of which decreases with altitude. Can you see that the option C given here and option 1 given next year, they are basically same options. They are saying that decreases with altitude. That means where you have maximum amount of water vapor. Maximum amount of water vapor you have near the Earth's surface itself. So that is the thing. Now if you go back before also, right? If we talk about the earlier, okay, earlier we have looked at the question. Which question? 2012. If you look at the second statement, what they have written here, there is a more moisture in the upper atmosphere. True or false? If you have solved this question, if you have looked at the answer, you know there is more moisture in the lower atmosphere. So same thing you can see, availability or amount of water vapor, amount of moisture, lower atmosphere, higher atmosphere, same thing is being repeated. So that's how it becomes easier to solve the questions without much pressure if you have understood the concept. So that is correct. It is a percentage is maximum at the poles. Now this is simple logic. We have discussed before also that how water vapor is created by the evaporation. Where will be evaporation? Where you have temperature. Where you will have higher evaporation, where you will have high temperature. And where you have the maximum evaporation. The answer would be obviously equator, because that's where we will see maximum insolation. So that's why what is the correct option? Only A. The gas, its amount decreases with altitude, but percentage is not maximum at the poles. Percentage is maximum near the equator. Near equator you have about 5%. By the time you reach the polar area, it becomes almost equal to 0% as such. So between 0 to 5%, that's the variation we see in the amount of water vapor. Then the next question is related to the third chapter we have to study. Third chapter is about the atmospheric pressure belt, wind circulation and all. And there we can see question is being asked about westerlies. Westerlies in southern hemisphere is stronger and persistent than in northern hemisphere. Why? 2011. Now see, what question is about westerlies. So when you are solving PYQs, you have to go through and read about westerlies, because UPSC is clearly giving you indication that westerlies is something that UPSC is taking interest in. It is important. And see here 2015, 4 years later, again they are asking questions related to what? Westerlies. Understand? So there is clearly a link here. And if you go further, okay, further if you look here to both these questions, we can imagine. So westerly in southern hemisphere is stronger and persistent than in northern hemisphere. Why? Southern hemisphere has less land mass as compared to northern hemisphere. That is correct. Coriolis force is higher in southern hemisphere as compared to northern hemisphere. That is incorrect statement. Now see, you can see the question is being repeated. Westerly's question was asked in 2011, repeated in 2015. Coriolis force they have asked again in 2011. And if you look here, what they're asking in year 2024, they're asking question about the Coriolis force. What is Coriolis force? With reference to Coriolis force, which of the following statement is correct? So it increases with increases in wind velocity. It is maximum at the poles and is absent at the equator. Whether it is correct or incorrect. So first of all, where to find this answer? Again, you do not have to go and look somewhere else. You go back to again NCERT class 11th physical geography, and this is the paragraph we have taken. Atmospheric circulation and weather system, that is the name of the chapter, and here it is clearly mentioned that it increases with increase in wind velocity. Correct or incorrect? Here you have given the Coriolis force acts perpendicular to the pressure gradient force. The higher the pressure gradient force, the more is the velocity of the wind, and larger is the deflection in the direction of wind. As a result, these two forces operate perpendicular to each other. Now what we can say from this particular this particular paragraph, that yes, Coriolis force increases as wind velocity increases. Here also it is given in the upper paragraph. The deflection is more when the wind velocity is high. Coriolis force is reflective force. That means yes, it is correct. Second, it is maximum at the poles and absent at the equator. This is again this last statement. At the equator, Coriolis force is 0 and wind blows perpendicular to the isobars as such. So again, what I can say here, it is maximum. Here it is given. Look at this particular statement. It is nothing but this statement. UPSC did not even change anything. It just picked up the statement from NCERT class 11th geography and put it as an option. So here it is given. If you look, it is maximum at the poles and is absent at the equator. What is the option? It is maximum at the poles and is absent at the equator. That's why I'm telling you for geography prelims, make sure that each and every line of class 11th geography, especially with reference to geomorphology, climatology, oceanography, make sure that you read each and every line. Every concept that is mentioned there becomes important, and UPSC is directly putting the statement itself. That means what is the correct option? Both 1 and 2. That's from your questions are framed. Now, how to understand that Coriolis force is important topic? Look here. Here, what is being asked? 2011 Coriolis force, right? You come here, 2024. What is the question about? Coriolis force. Before that also 2015, if you look, what is one of the option? Coriolis force is too weak. In the South Atlantic and Southeastern Pacific region, tropical latitude, cyclones does not originate. What is the region? Now we'll say that where to find this? Nothing. NCERT itself. This is the last statement. What is the last statement? At the equator, Coriolis force is 0 and wind blows perpendicular to the isobar. Low pressure gets filled instead of getting intensified. That is the reason why tropical cyclones are not formed near the equator. What they're asking, in these regions, tropical latitude cyclones does not originate. What is the region? Here we have given Coriolis force is 2 weak. But keep in mind, they are asking about South Atlantic and Southeastern Pacific, not about equatorial region. That means here this cannot be an option. The region is this one. Sea surface temperature in these areas are low because you have lack of land masses, and because of lack of land mass, if we know that in the southern hemisphere, sea temperature, ocean temperature is relatively lower as compared to northern hemisphere, and that's why the probability of cyclone formation is relatively less. Now here winds blow between 30° north to 30° south throughout the year are known as westerlies. This is again repetition of question, but this is incorrect statement because 30° north to 60° north and 30 degrees south to 60 degrees south. So see, UPSC is trying to trick you, because if you do not read options properly, you would just see this 30 degrees and you mark it correct, 30 degrees, 60 degrees. But here it is north, here it is south. So in between you have a lot of other winds, trade winds, north is trade wind, south is trade wind. Moisture masses that cause winter rains in northwestern region of India are part westerly. That is correct. In the Indian geography climate you have to study. So B is the correct option in this case. Now coming to the next question related to jet stream, 2020 question was asked. Jet streams occur in the northern hemisphere only. That is incorrect. Jet stream occur in both northern hemisphere as well as southern hemisphere. This also is clearly mentioned in the NCERT class 11th geography. Only some cyclones develop an eye. This is correct, because you have to study about two types of cyclone: temperate cyclone and tropical cyclone. Tropical cyclones have eye, temperate cyclone not have eye. Temperature inside the eye of cyclone is nearly 10 degrees Celsius lower than that of surrounding. This is nothing but simple definition of cyclone. Cyclone is defined as a low pressure system. So at the center of cyclone you have low pressure. If pressure is low, that means temperature need to be high, right? Because we know that high temperature at the surface creates low atmospheric pressure. That means this statement is incorrect statement, this statement is correct statement, this statement is correct statement. So correct answer here would be C, only 2. So again directly asked based on NCERT class 11th geography. Next is, why are dewdrops not formed on a cloudy night? This is related to again temperature. I told you temperature inversion. We have to study in temperature chapter. So again the themes is being repeated. So clouds absorb the radiation released from the Earth's surface. Clouds reflect back the Earth's radiation. Earth's surface would have low temperature on cloudy nights. Cloud deflect the blowing wind to ground level. So answer is simple, because if this is the surface and here we have the clouds, especially if you have low level clouds and then you have the high level clouds. Two type of cloud we have: low level cloud, high level cloud. So what happens, especially the high level clouds, they do not allow the radiation to escape from the Earth's surface, and because of this they reflect back the Earth's radiation. So when they reflect back the Earth's radiation, Earth's temperature would remain higher. If Earth's temperature would remain higher, dewdrops are formed because of condensation. Condensation can only happen if temperature is low. So, because clouds are reflecting back the Earth's radiation, Earth's surface temperature nearby remains hot, remains high. That's why no condensation, no dew drops. So, B is the right option here. Again, it is simple topic related to radiation losses and all. Now, this is 2019. In 2022, you have repetition of the same concept. Try to think what they are trying to ask here. They're trying to ask here, how does cloud and Earth's radiation are related? And that is what they're asking directly in 2022. High clouds primarily reflect solar radiation and cool the surface of Earth. Low clouds have a high absorption of infrared radiation emanating from the Earth's surface and thus cause a warming effect. Both of these are incorrect statements. They are reverse actually. High clouds have high absorption of infrared radiation and thus they have a warming effect. Low clouds, they primarily reflect solar radiation because density is very high and thus they have a cooling effect. So correct answer here would have been neither 1 nor 2, D. But again, we do not have to focus on what is the correct answer here. We have to focus on understanding the concept, and which concept is UPSC preferring here. So you can see it is nothing but repetition of concept asked in 2019. Then again, if you look 2019, similar question was asked. In the context of which of the following do some scientists suggest the use of cirrus cloud thinning technique and the injection of sulfate aerosol into the stratosphere? So here it is related to creating the artificial rain in some region, reducing the frequency and intensity of tropical cyclone, reducing the adverse effect of solar wind on the earth, reducing the global warming. So scientists suggest use of cirrus cloud thinning technique and injection of sulfate aerosol. Why? So that we can cause more amount of rainfall. So creating the artificial rain in some region. So once artificial rain question was asked, and again in 2025 we are seeing the same question being asked. Same concept is being repeated. That is artificial way of causing rainfall to reduce air pollution makes use of what? What actually is being used to induce rainfall? The answer is silver iodide and potassium iodide. So that's the point. So here, in here actually this is the correct answer, reducing the global warming, because that's why we have just discussed the cirrus cloud and talk about these are the high altitude cloud. High altitude cloud has a warming effect. Actually, if you try to think here, the same 2019, this question is being asked here. So high clouds, they basically absorb infrared radiation. Why they're absorbing infrared radiation? Yeah, because of their potential to absorb the terrestrial radiation, outgoing long wavelength terrestrial radiation. That's why to reduce the effect of global warming, you're also focused upon cirrus cloud thinning. Then question is related to 2013 prelims. On the planet Earth, most of the fresh water exists as ice caps and glacier. Out of the remaining fresh water, the largest proportion is. This is again, it seems to be one of the most favorite topic of UPSC, because you know that all across the world we are facing a situation of water scarcity, water crisis, and that's why we need to have an understanding about the distribution of water on the planet Earth. And for this, you not have to try to find some sources here and there. This is clearly given in the NCERT table 13.1. You have chapter called as water oceans. So water distribution on the earth's surface percentage. Ocean has 97.25, ice caps 2%, glaciers, groundwater. All of these are given. And now interestingly, if you look 3 years they have asked question. One was 2013 prelims. Then again they ask in 2021 same question. Amount of water in the rivers and lakes is more than the amount of groundwater. Amount of water in polarized caps and glaciers more than the amount of groundwater. Let us first look at the question and try to find answer. Then again they ask before 2010 also, on the planet Earth, the fresh water available for use amounts to about less than 1% total water found. Of the total fresh water found on the planet Earth, 95% is bound up in the polar ice caps and glacier. Now, interestingly, all these three questions could have been easily solved, though they are being asked in different years. They could have been easily solved if you have looked at and remembered this particular table in NCERT. Let us try to find it. First is this one. Most of fresh water exists as ice caps and glacier. Out of the remaining fresh water, where is the largest proportion? Look here. So ocean water is simply, it is saline water, right? Salty water. So these are the fresh water. So majority of them we have seen ice caps and glacier. Where is the next one? Next is 0.60%, that is groundwater. So do we have groundwater an option? Here, see, it exists as what? Groundwater. So simple. Third, next is with reference to water on the planet Earth, consider the following statement: amount of water in the rivers and lakes is more than that of groundwater. True or false? Let us look here. Rivers and lakes, if you talk about streams and rivers, basically, they are 0.0001%. Lakes, if we talk about how much? 0.0%. So 0.0100 some percent. How much is groundwater? 0.68%. So many times higher than what actually you have in the what you can call as lakes and rivers. That means this statement is incorrect statement. Amount of water in polarized caps in glacier is more than the amount of groundwater. Obviously, it is correct. You can see here. Ice caps in glacier, how much percentage? 2%. Groundwater, how much percentage? 0.68%. So we can see direct questions are being asked from the tables of NCERTs, the facts that is mentioned in NCERTs, the statement that is given in NCERTs. So class 11th NCERT still is a, we can say, something similar to Holy Grail as far as the geography prelims examination is concerned. Now let us look at other question, other important topic, one of the favorite topic from where many time UPSC has repeated its questions, that is isotherm. So question is that consider the following statement. In January in the northern hemisphere, the isotherm bent equatorward while crossing landmass and poleward while crossing the ocean. Statement 2. In January, the air over the ocean is warmer than that over landmass in the northern hemisphere. So if you look at this particular question, what you can see, where they have asked this question from, again, this is the distribution of temperature. The chapter in NCERT is solar radiation, heat balance and temperature. Here you can clearly see a statement that is given. Here, read this statement. In January, the isotherms deviate to the north over the ocean and to the south over the continent. This is again a statement clearly mentioned in NCERTs. In January, the isotherms deviate to the north over the ocean and to south over the continent. What is the reason? Now, if you look here, the presence of warm ocean current Gulf Stream North Atlantic Drift makes the northern Atlantic Ocean warmer and the isotherm bends toward the north. Over the land, temperature decreases sharply and isotherm bends towards south in Europe as such. Right? Then if you look here, distribution of temperature, here also few points are mentioned that what happens? The isotherms are lying joining places having equal temperature. Basically, they have given you definition also. So if we try to now use this fact here, what we can see in January, isotherm bent equatorward while crossing the landmass and poleward while crossing the ocean. Incorrect statement. In January, the air over the ocean is warmer than that over the landmass in northern hemisphere. This is correct. This is related to differential distribution of heat. When same amount of heat is incident on the land and water, water heats at a slower rate, land heats at a faster rate. So land becomes warm. In the winter, when cooling occurs, land again cools at a faster rate. So during winter, because January is winter, during winter, land mass is colder and water is relatively warmer as such. So that's why we can say the second statement is also correct statement. Which of the following is the correct inferences from isothermal maps in the month of January? Again, you can see 2025 they have asked question related to isotherm. 2024 they have asked question related to isotherms. So they are saying isotherms deviate to the north over the ocean and to south over the continent. Look here. Which month? January month. Is it not the exact same statement given in your NCERT here? If you look, what they are saying, in January, isotherm deviate to the north over the ocean and to south over the continent. So is this statement correct or incorrect? Isotherm deviate to the north over the ocean and to south over the continent. Exact statement given in NCERT. Presence of cold ocean current. Second statement also is directly picked up from NCERTs. The presence of cold ocean current Gulf Stream North Atlantic Drift makes the North Atlantic Ocean colder and isotherm bends toward the north. Now if you look here, they have done a slight change. What they have written? The presence of warm ocean current. So instead of this warm, they have replaced this by cold. And Gulf Stream North Atlantic makes Northern Atlantic Ocean warmer. And that's why isotherm bends toward the north as such. That means second statement is incorrect here. So A is the right option. So that's how I'm telling you that you have to go through in detail as far as NCERT is concerned, and especially in the last days, because just 1 month is something that is left as far as the prelims examination is concerned. You should be focused on repeating, revising and studying NCERTs as much as possible and ensure that these concepts which are favorite topic of UPSC, I told you, temperature related concepts, isotherm related concepts, the radiation cloud related concepts that you have, atmospheric circulation, wind, planetary wind. So 5-6 chapters you have here, you should focus on them also more. Temperature contrast between continents and ocean is greater during summer than in winter. Again taken from this what you can call as same paragraph of the NCERT itself. The temperature contrast, somewhere it should be mentioned. right? So in this paragraph it is mentioned here. So temperature, this contrast between continents and ocean is greater during summer than winter. A specific heat of water is more than that of land surface. That is correct. That's why land cools at a rapid rate and also land heats up at a rapid rate as such. So here it is given. It's much pronounced in the Siberian plain. Mean January temperature along 60 degrees longitude and minus 20 degrees Celsius, both at 80 degree north and 50 degree north of latitude as such. So overall we can say this paragraph entirely itself, temperature is well pronounced map as a thumb search, generally parallel to latitude. Deviation from this general trend is more pronounced in January. Yes, this is the statement from where question was asked. The deviation from this general trend is more pronounced in January than in July. What is the statement? The temperature contrast between continent and ocean is greater during summer than winter. So this statement would be incorrect statement as such. More pronounced in January. That means in winter it is more pronounced. Which of the following are the evidences? Now, if you look at one question recently asked from geomorphology, so you'll understand that how much important is in CRT again for every topic. This is again recent year, it is not very old, 2025, last year question again itself. The belt of ancient rocks from Brazil coast matches with those from the Western Africa. This is exact statement given in NCERT. I have taken the screenshot. The shorelines of Africa and South America facing each other have remarkable and unmistakable match. So we know that Ghana is basically in Africa, Brazil is in the Southern America. So that is the point. Belt of ancient rock from Brazil coast match with those from Western Africa. Second is gold deposits of Ghana are derived from the Brazil plateau when the two continents lay side by side. That is also correct statement. Placer deposit based evidences are given in NCERT. Exact statement taken from there. Third, look, Gondwana system of sediment from India is known to have its counterpart in 6 different land masses of the southern hemisphere. Here, look here, Tillite. Tillite is the subheading given in the NCERT class 11th geography. What is written here? Exact same statement. Gondwana system of sediments from India is known to have its counterpart in 6 different land masses of the southern hemisphere. Can you see? UPSC did not even change anything. Exact statement taken from one of the paragraph NCERT is put here. And it's not that only one example I have given you. I have given you multiple such examples. In the last video also, where we have discussed about the river system, we discussed about mapping based questions and all that, you can see this is a general pattern that UPSC is following. They are picking up questions from NCERTs, they are picking up statements from NCERTs and directly giving you. And the same pattern you would see in Indian geography also, when questions are being asked about river system, the dams that you have in the river system, where this particular river is flowing. The entire statement is picked up from the NCERT new edition as such. Hence the following statement, this is related to the again geomorphology. Rainfall is one of the reasons for weathering of rocks. Statement 2, rainwater contains carbon dioxide in solution. Third, rainwater contains atmospheric oxygen. Actually, the three statements they have broken the question into. It is a single statement, single paragraph taken from again NCERT class 11th chapter on weathering. So chemical weathering. In chemical weathering, what they are saying? They are saying that if you look here, which part? This part if you look here. A group of weathering processes, solution, carbonation, hydration, oxidation, reduction act on the rock to decompose, dissolve or reduce them to fine classic states and all that. Here, this part if you look, this part. Water and air. Water and air, what do we have here? Oxygen and carbon dioxide. So water and air along with oxygen and carbon dioxide along with heat must be present to speed up all the chemical reaction. What is it written under? Chemical weathering. What they're asking? Rainfall is one of the regions for weathering of rocks. Obviously, it is a region. Why? Because it is given here. Rainwater contains carbon dioxide in solution. Yes, you have carbon dioxide. Rainwater contains atmospheric oxygen. Yes. So oxygen, carbon dioxide, water. Right? That means what should be the correct option? Both statement 2 and 3 are correct and both of them explain statement 1. You can see that all the three statements are basically nothing but picked up from one of the paragraph of NCERTs. So that's how we can understand how significant it is to analyze PYQs. While analyzing PYQs, again emphasizing, try to learn the concept. If you do not know about some terms there, about some what you can call as concept they have asked, go through it. And where would you refer it to? Nowhere else but the NCERT's class 11. Now overall what you can see, if you look at the entire UPSC pattern across different themes or different subset, you can see that as far as the map based questions are asked, you have to have visualization. Like I told you in last class, when they're talking about Indian rivers now, when they're asking about questions of Indian rivers, they're not asking you the name of the tributaries. They're giving you the name already. They're asking what is the correct sequence of tributaries as you move from west to east. They're given tributaries of Ganga River, Ghagra, Gandak, Kosi, right? And they ask you what is the correct sequence if you move from west to east. So you have to have visualization. Elimination, many time elimination memory technique, elimination technique you can use. A lot of answers can be solved by removing wrong options also, but for that you need to have partial concept understanding and partial fact. You have to have this what you can say memory about interlinking river, lake, park region. As we have said many times, they are interlinking the question. Chota Nagpur Plateau, right? Suvarn Rekha River, right? Hundru Falls. So three things they have linked: waterfall, river, where are they located? So integrated question. And overall depth is being asked, but in basics. They're not asking something that you need to learn and have PhD for that. Most of questions can easily be solved if you have focused on learning the concepts in NCRTs, if you have read through NCRTs at least 2 to 3 times. So NCRT is going to be your core material as far as geography prelims is concerned. Plus for mapping, definitely you have to keep along with yourself atlas also. So that's how we can understand the what you can say the core UPSC pattern, especially for geography prelims. So I hope this video would be helpful to you. If you are looking at this and you are attempting trying this, you are planning to attempt this examination in year 2026, again I would emphasize, do not ignore NCRT class 11 physical geography, Indo geography, the most important book for the UPSC prelims examination. Thank you very much.